Onset, your host today, and we are coming to you live from Denver, Colorado. We are here live at the Rocky Mountain Dental Convention, and I'm going to be speaking tomorrow. I'm super excited, and I'm even more excited because I have a guest with us today. We are interviewing Dr. Gupta from Cleveland, Ohio, and Dr. Gupta graduated dental school in 2004. And started a startup practice in 2005 from scratch. And so Dr. Gupta, tell us all about your experience starting a dental practice and from scratch. I know we'd all love to hear your experience.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Dana, and thanks for having me. Back then, this was 20 years ago, starting a practice from scratch wasn't as unusual then as it is now. But it was still unusual.
Yeah.
And so my wife and I, we graduated dental school together. We did residency together. And probably one of the biggest reasons why we decided that we would start a practice from scratch was because we knew that while one person was at the office, the other person could actually be working somewhere and making actual money. And so that was the reason that we did that.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, I kind of feel like we used that as a crutch, and we didn't allow our startup practice to really thrive the way it should have, because we knew that I worked for a place called Sears Dental, she worked for Aspen Dental, really common places to work at right out of school.
Yeah.
And we were able to pay our bills with those. But I think in retrospect, I would have rather just been a little bit poorer and put more effort into really developing the small business in all aspects and maybe making it grow a lot faster than we actually did. It's perfectly successful now, but it just could have happened a lot faster if we thought about it more.
Yeah, it's true. We don't hear very many doctors that start scratch practices anymore. And with a little guidance from, some business minds, we can help them grow a little bit faster. But Congratulations. Now, 20 years later, you have a very successful practice.
Yeah, thank you.
So great job. And so what we're going to be talking to you about today is I was reading through the speakers and the courses coming up during Rocky Mountain, and your presentation really stood out to me. You're going to be speaking on the extraordinary new patient experience, and that title just really struck a chord with me. It sounds very exciting. And so if I was sitting in your audience tomorrow in your course, tell me what my top 3 takeaways might be during your course tomorrow.
Sure. Before I do that, I just want to I want to just tell you a very brief story. My kids are old now, but when my daughter was really young, when she was like 9 months old, she kept on getting sick. And we kept on giving her antibiotics, and she got sick again, and antibiotics, ear infection, strep throat, all that kind of stuff, right? And finally, the pediatrician said, hey, let's just do some blood tests, because she gets sick a lot. And they did the blood test, and they found that she had I don't remember, either a high lymphocyte count or a low lymphocyte count. I don't remember. And they said, go to the Rainbow Babies Children's Hospital in downtown Cleveland and speak to the oncologist that's there. No, I'm sorry, the hematologist that's there.
Okay. Yeah.
So in our minds, we were thinking of a hematologist, a blood doctor. The only thing is, the thing that we didn't put 2 and 2 together at the time was that hematologists are also oncologists.
Okay.
And so when we drove down to downtown Cleveland and got to the hospital, we took the elevator to the floor where this hematologist was. And when the elevator doors opened, all we saw was a bunch of those post-it, clipboards that have, where you can post up flyers.
Yeah.
And all of the flyers were for either parents or children who were suffering from cancer.
Okay.
All of them. Support group meeting every Wednesday for parents who just lost their child to cancer. Support group meeting every Tuesday morning for kids who are on chemotherapy. And so all of a sudden we went from being relatively nonchalant about this appointment to being incredibly scared, incredibly vulnerable.
Sure.
Because all of a sudden this little kid, who we thought was perfectly fine, just would get ear infections a lot, all of a sudden we thought, oh my gosh, what if something much more severe is going on? And we felt incredibly vulnerable. And we walked up to the person who was sitting behind the counter. And the person sitting behind the counter did to us what probably you've had plenty of people do sitting behind the counter.
Yeah.
This person was on her computer tapping away. She felt like she acted like we interrupted her. The very first words out of her mouth was name, and then we said our name, and then you tell me what's the second words out of her mouth?
What's your insurance?
Insurance, yeah. She didn't even say what's your insurance, she just says insurance.
Yeah.
So we could hand her the card, and then she grabbed the card, she gave us a clipboard to fill out.
That's pretty normal, actually.
It's very normal. It's just how it's done.
Right.
But I was so pissed because I just felt like and you know what, the fact is the doctors were great, the nurses were great, but I came out of that situation just like very, I was just pissed. I was really dissatisfied with that interaction. And I went back to my office, and I know dental office, we're not like dealing with life and death stuff, hardcore stuff like that. Yet we have patients who were incredibly nervous to come in because they're so worried about how we're going to judge them for how they're taking care of their teeth, or they're so worried about getting a shot in their mouth, which they're terrified about. They're so scared about getting a toothpick. These are real vulnerable people.
Yes.
And I thought, okay, from now on, everybody who comes to our office, they need to be treated the way I wanted to be treated.
Yeah, that's such
no matter what.
Such a story.
And so that's kind of how this whole concept of extraordinary customer service, or extraordinary new patient experience, was born.
Yeah.
So we sat down, and at the time there was only like 3 employees, right? So little team, and we sat down and we're like, okay, this is what happened to us when we went to Rainbow Babies. How are we going to do the exact opposite? And here, okay, so you told me to give you 3 take backs.
Yeah,
okay?
if I was sitting in your audience, what am I going to take away?
Let me give you the first one. The first one is this. If you're a new patient at our office, the team that greets you, the front desk team, they're required to do 5 things. Number 1, maybe it's more than 5 things. Let me just go through them. Stand up, make eye contact, shake your hand, and call you by name. Okay?
Beautiful.
Then that person has to get up, leave their little domain with the countertop and the computer. They have to get up, leave their domain, come out into the waiting area, reception area, whatever you call it, and sit down next to the patient, side to side, shoulder to shoulder. Mm-hmm. And if there is paperwork or consent forms or whatever that still need to be done, they go over it with that patient side to side, okay, shoulder to shoulder, okay? So I don't know, number 2, number 3, whatever that was.
Yeah.
Then we have a little break. The patient must be offered coffee or must be offered water. Most patients say no, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it must be offered that.
Making them feel at home.
And then number 5, and I'm not sure if this is number 5, is we have to learn something about the patient, which actually is the hardest one, okay? So getting up, walking around, that might be a hassle, but that's not hard, right? You don't have to use a lot of mind power for that. But learning about somebody actually means, so where are you from? So you told me, Dana, that you're from Northwestern Washington. Well, I did a little stint with a Native American reservation in Northwestern Washington. And I wanted to tell you that so bad. I wanted to say, oh, you're from there? Oh, I did that. And that's absolutely against the rules.
Oh.
Because it's about you. It's about the patient. So we say where you're from. The patient says where they're from. And then what my team is responsible for, and this takes a lot of practice, they have to expand on that, showing the patient more and more that they care about them and their story rather than how my life or my situation might have intersected with that.
Yeah.
Okay?
I see that, yeah.
It takes a little bit of time. It takes effort.
Practice.
It's practice, okay? So, okay, that's number 1. Extraordinary new patient experience number 1. Our goal is that new patient says to themselves, well, I've never been treated like this before. And they've never even seen me. They've never met the dentist. They've never met the hygienist. They've never even seen our operatories.
Yeah.
But the goal is for them to say they've never been treated like this before. They've been to a chiropractor this week, a physical therapist, kids pediatrician. It doesn't matter. They've never been treated like this. Okay, so that's number one.
I love that.
Am I going too long?
No, you're perfect.
Okay. So then number two, and this gets a little more clinical. This is for us to, that new patient. When I was in dental school, I looked at the patient with my eyes and my little tools, and I looked at the radiograph, and then I turned and looked at them and I said, here's all your problems. Dana, I used my eyes and my tools and my loupes and my x-rays, and now let me tell you all your problems. Okay?
Yeah.
That too, I think, isn't appropriate. Instead, we want the patient to see what we're seeing. So every new patient, every limited exam, every consult, we have these big TVs that are in every operatory, which are quite cheap, by the way.
I know, that's true.
No, it used to be like expensive. No, this is not a big investment. Bigger TV that the patient is staring at, and then when we take the retracted photo of their smile, that's what they're staring at. Big. Could you imagine? I mean, you have beautiful teeth. You really do. But could you imagine just retract the cheeks out of the way, and now you can see your teeth?
Yeah.
And our first question to that patient is, what do you see when you look at this?
I love that.
And even there, eventually we have to do our dental stuff, our scientific stuff, and our, discussion about periodontal disease or decay or whatever. They're looking at it. And a lot of times they're just as concerned or even more concerned than we are. Sometimes I see a composite, it's kind of ugly, but it's fine. And they're freaking out about it, because it's got that little brown line around it or something.
Yeah.
So what we want is for them to see what we're seeing. And there's one element to that we just started about, I don't know, maybe a year ago. And that is using AI to read our radiographs.
Okay, yes.
Okay. Have you heard of that before?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the company we use is Pearl.
Okay.
And so what they do, we take our regular radiographs like we normally do, and somehow the little gremlins in our computer send those images to Pearl. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. The AI does whatever it does. And then instead of us looking at these bite wings or these perioperable x-rays, where only me, the special dentist, can discern between gray areas.
Yeah.
Now decay is purple.
Yeah.
And if it's just in the enamel, it's a lighter shade.
Yeah.
And if it goes to the pulp, it's a darker shade. If there is bone loss or periodontal attachment loss, there's arrows that show the measurements and the colors. And so what this does is, now, it's still a radiograph, but now at least the patient can see what we're seeing.
Yeah.
They can trust us a little bit more.
It's almost like a second opinion from...
It's totally a second opinion. Now, I like it because it catches stuff that because I'm human, I wouldn't miss. But I think what patients like about it is that it's so transparent. It's just so transparent. There was always a thing, right, in dentistry when, it's kind of like you take your car to the mechanic and you say, oh, how's my car? And they say, oh, you need this, 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 and this. And then there's this part of your brain that says, do I really need all of this stuff? Now that transparency is...
I can see that. I can see that for sure.
It's just there, And so I would say that allowing patients to see what we see, maximizing on tech that's available, using the most user-friendly cameras, making it super easy to make it so that whatever picture we take immediately shows up on the screen. That's been incredibly valuable.
I agree. I'm a kind of a technology nerd, so I love being able to show the patients that right up on the screen. So I love that you're talking about that.
It is kind of, it's funny because, when I graduated dental school, when I graduated, I had a cell phone. But when I started dental school, I only had a landline.
Oh, okay.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
When I was learning how to be a dentist, I had a landline, right?
Yeah.
Think about how much technology has come.
Oh, I know.
And so if I do dentistry the way it was done
Yeah.
20 years ago, that's the same as calling somebody using the landline.
I know.
It's-
I know. I
it's-
tell my clients all the time, whenever we talk about like all these new technology and communication and third-party bit software, and like, I am so jealous with
Yeah.
how much you have available to you now. Online booking and forms. I didn't have that when I was in a
Yeah.
practice. And I'm so jealous that it's here now. And AI is really coming on board this year. So
I think so.
I'm so excited.
I
to
wonder
see
if
that.
there's going to be stuff at the conference.
I hope so. I hope so. Now, before we segue into number 3, I want to go back to number 1, because what I heard about your story when you were taking your child to Rainbow Children's Hospital, your expectations of the visit, of the appointment, were different than as soon as you walked off the elevator. The reality of the appointment changed.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, how does your team prepare your patient for a realistic expectation of what to expect in their visit?
So, okay. Actually, that segues me to number 3 extremely well.
Great. Okay.
So let's take my kids analogy again. Okay. So when my kids were younger, they would do what all kids do. They would ask for stuff. They'd say, "Hey, can we go downstairs and play video games, or can we do this?" And I would say, "Sure, you can, but first clean your rooms, unload the dishwasher, and then go." Okay. And so basically what I was doing is I was creating expectations for myself. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I would go and do my own thing. I would come back. And if they didn't do both of those things, I would be pissed. Right? Because I had certain expectations. They didn't meet those. What they did is they under-delivered on a promise.
Yes.
Right?
That is correct.
Okay. So now, let's just, same situation. They say, "Hey, can we play video games?" I go, yeah, whatever. I go and do my thing, but they take it upon themselves to unload the dishwasher before they go down there. Now, how do I feel?
Over.
I'm certainly proud of them.
Yeah.
But it's not about clean their rooms. They over-delivered there. I had no expectations,
Yes.
and they over-delivered. Okay?
Yes, I see that.
And so you asked how do we prepare patients, right? So we actually created a little script. Actually, it's in the handout, but for the people who come and lecture, it was script for what our team at the front desk says when they're on the phone with patients. And probably one of the key things that they must say every time they're on the phone with a new patient is, "We're going to take a very comprehensive tour of your mouth, and sometimes there's a lot to discuss. And if that's the case, you may not get your teeth cleaned at this appointment. Are you okay with that?" All of a sudden, that expectation, it's gone.
Yeah. Yes.
No, there's patients that are like, "No, I'm not okay with that. I'll call someone else," and that's fine.
Sure.
That's okay, because I would much rather they never come in and never be dissatisfied than come in expecting a cleaning, never being told otherwise, and then having us tell them, 70% of the appointment in, "Oh, by the way, you're not getting the cleaning today."
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love what you just said, and I hope that everybody just wrote that down, because
it's a great one-liner, isn't
It's a
it?
great one-liner, and
Yeah.
I hope you all, because rewind. and
We're going to
write that
take
down.
the doctors take a very comprehensive tour of your mouth, and sometimes they'll find a lot of things that need to be discussed. As a result, you might not get your teeth cleaned that day.
That was beautiful.
And then ask, "Is that okay with you? Do you still want to make this appointment?" Most people say yes.
For sure. Well, now they have to. I mean, you've piqued their interest.
Yeah. So the other thing, so let's go back to this whole concept of over-delivery, okay? So we have a bunch of little over-delivering tricks up our sleeve all the time, okay? So for example, if a patient waits more than 10 minutes in the waiting room for whatever reason, we always give them a gift card. Okay, it's a Starbucks gift card.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
a $10, $5. I don't remember. But it's a part of the protocol. You know, the team at the front desk, they notice so and so's been waiting. They don't like, and so and so's not even complaining, right? They're just waiting because we do wait when we go to offices, right? But in our office, it's got to be extraordinary. So immediately when that 10 minutes hits, somebody gets up, sits down next to them and say, you know what? The doctor or the hygienist must be running behind. We're so sorry about this. We got you this little token, but because we appreciate how nice you are and how patiently you wait.
Oh,
okay?
Yeah.
So we have a bunch of tricks up our sleeve. Another one, I have a bunch, so I won't be able to tell you all of them, but I'm going to give you a couple.
One or two.
So let me give you two more.
Okay.
So one of them, we have fresh flowers in the waiting room every week. We get delivered by a florist, right?
Yeah.
So, but what we do, because our last day of work is Thursday, at either the Wednesday or the Thursday morning huddle, we identify a patient. Yeah, it's usually an elderly patient, usually a woman. I apologize for usually doing that, but we do. But it's usually somebody we know is going to really appreciate them.
Yeah.
And so at the end of their appointment, somebody says, hey, Martha, come here. I have something to tell you. Martha comes here and was like, you know, we talked about it earlier this week and we decided you're our patient of the week and we want to give you these flowers.
Aww.
And then and a lot of that, or, you know, let's say a patient tells us that their daughter's getting married this summer.
Yeah.
And we say, oh, that's who's getting the flowers.
Oh, I love that.
Or a patient tells us they're concerned their mother just got put into hospice or was just diagnosed with breast cancer. Immediately, you know, it's like the alarm goes out. Everybody knows that's going to be a person of the week. They're going to be over delivered to. Okay. Do I have time for two more?
Give us one more.
One more. Okay.
We can't give away all your secrets.
So all right. So whenever a patient expensive treatment, whenever a patient decides to move forward with us for something expensive, let's say it's an implant retained overdenture or a cosmetic smile makeover, they're dropping major dollars, right?
For sure.
So what we do right at that moment is we assign that patient a spot. So let's say it's my dental assistant. She becomes a spy on that patient. Her job is, throughout the duration of treatment, she's got to get to know him or her, you know. So what's your favorite restaurant? What do you like to do? What do you think you're going to do once you get teeth? That kind of stuff. Then on the very last appointment, when they finally get the news delivered or their implant denture snapped in, at that appointment, we have this little Amazon box with the little tissues in it, and it's got a gift card to that place. So let's say that patient says, once I get my teeth, I'm going to eat a steak at Norton's Steakhouse. But it's the spy's responsibility to go out and get about 1% of the treatment cost in a gift card. So if there's a $15,000 piece, they'll get a $150 gift card, and then that patient gets to...
That's so special.
They're happy because they got their teeth,
Yeah.
but then all of a sudden they get this surprise, and it's a substantial amount, and so they're pretty excited about
Our
it.
team remembered where they should get the gift card from.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
the patient
it's personalized.
It's personalized. The patient had talked about it
Yeah.
at some point during their journey in your practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could talk to you about more, but I know the time
give
is...
away all your
Yeah.
secrets.
Yeah.
And I wish I could sit in on your course tomorrow. It sounds amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And but I thank you so much for telling us the story about your children. I love hearing personal stories about my guests because we get to learn a little bit about you. We get to, you know, now we're kind of part of your family.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for telling us your personal stories.
You are, by the way, you're a great podcast host.
Oh, thank you.
You're very good. You're smiling constantly. You're very welcoming. It's just been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
It's just been like we've just been sitting here talking, just two dental colleagues talking about our dental practices.
Yeah,
and
it's been great.
I know that I got so much out of our talk today. I can't wait to go back and listen to it and write down the script and share it with everybody. I was wonderful.
Great.
So if anyone listening today wanted to maybe reach out to you directly, maybe they want you to speak at their study club, or maybe they wanted for you to do some coaching with them, how would we reach out to you?
So my website is the easiest way, okay? Because my name is foreign, it's hard to pronounce, hard to remember how to spell. So my educational company is called Be Better Seminars, okay? Like to be better, BETTER seminars.com. And actually all of the handouts that I actually referred to, they're all there on the website. You don't have to subscribe or pay me anything or do a membership or anything like that. You just click on the handouts and you can download them and put them out.
Gift.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
So-
what a gift that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you. And we'll have all of Dr. Gupta's contact info in the show notes. You'll be able to reach out to him, go onto his website directly, and get all of his gifts that he's willing to give.
Yeah.
And I hope that your presentation tomorrow at Rocky Mountain Dental Convention goes really well. You're going to have an amazing audience. Denver's a great place to speak.
Denver is great.
Oh, it's a great place to speak and present. It's just a magical place.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
My
for being a
pleasure.
guest
Thank you, Dana.
on my podcast. So for all of you out there, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time, a little bit of your precious time with us today. And I look forward to watching your journey of becoming a high-performing dental team.